Let's deep dive into the 4 steps of resume building. I would say resume building can be structured into the 4 steps mentioned over here. You need to choose the right format for the resume. You need to understand what are the key sections of the resume, and definitely you need to make it look great so that it stands out from the remaining competition. Uh, Making it look great can is not only about aesthetics, it is also about basic formatting. It is also about making it look simple, clean, clear, crisp. And of course, the final step is to get feedback. This is a very important step that many people miss out on. They think that what they have made as their resume is the only final thing to go forward with. But no, I would say that it is very critical for you to get feedback from your peers, maybe from a professor, maybe from some work colleague. At any stage of your life, you need to get some kind of a feedback for some of the work that you are doing, and that includes getting some feedback to finalize your resume. So, step number 1 is choosing the right format, like I mentioned. Uh, Always the format or the structure of the resume is most likely given in terms of reverse chronological order, which means that you don't start with what you did in your 10th or 12th standard or your schooling days. You always start with whatever is latest. The logic for that is very simple. People are interested to know about what you have been up to lately and not what you did when you were way younger. That is therefore the one of the most prominent formats of uh, representing information on the resume. Does it mean that people who represent information in a chronological order of their life do not make good resumes? Of course not. That's not the point. The point is that the most accepted and safe and conventional way of making a good formatted and structured resume is to go in a reverse chronological order. Always the recommended length of any kind of a resume is one side. One side, not even one page. One page means one front side and one back side, right? So that's not what we are referring to. We are saying that at your level, when you're in your undergrad, when you've not entered in your full-time work experience yet, you would have only a limited or handful amount of information that can easily fit under one side of a resume page. Max to max, what people do is that they make up 2 pages and they print it front and back so that it appears like it is one page of resume. That is the maximum that is accepted. So our recommendation to you guys studying at a UG level is that you guys make a one-sided resume page. Oftentimes we have certain institute formats to follow. In placements and other processes, the institute that you are studying in recommends a certain format that you need to follow for developing your resume, and you have to fill in your information as per that template itself. While this may feel a little restrictive in nature, I would say that it is for the larger good, because it means that everybody's aesthetics, everybody's formatting, everybody's structure of the resume is fixed and constant. There is no comparison between you and any other competition, and only the content and the quality of your words inside the resume will differentiate, and your achievements, of course, will differentiate your profile or your resume from that of the competition. So while it is restrictive in terms of allowing you to, have freedom of any kind of way of representing the CV, certain institute format guidelines need to be followed. Uh, Abhishek and the rest of the people in the audience, do you guys have any kind of existing institute format that has been communicated to you by IIST Shivpur?
No, sir, we make it by our own.
You may get the format or you make it as per your own.
Sir, everything.
You make
It,
it as per
it's,
your own.
yeah, yeah, it's on
All
us,
right.
sir.
So when you, let's say, at least I experienced this in my MBA days, right? That when I had to go for MBA placements during my MBA program, my placement committee was very clear on the fact that, so as to ensure uniformity and standardization between everyone in the batch, we all have to follow one standard format, so that even the recruiters who come to campus to recruit us do not look at multiple different aesthetics and multiple different styles of resume. We stick to the same style, we still stick to the same structure, and we stick to the same length also. The resume length also does not change, and everything has to be fit into that. If you guys right now have liberty and freedom to make your own resumes, even then the recommended length remains to be one side of a resume page. Step number two is to uh, understand, analyze, and I would say optimize the key sections of a resume. So if I were to make a mental picture of what a resume should look like, right? There is always something at the top. And usually that something at the top is your name, your age, your basic personal details like your email address, your phone number, as well as your maybe your LinkedIn account, and a picture. That is the maximum you can put at the very top of your resume. After that, a small 2 to 3 line paragraph, a very small and optional, of course, but many people these days tend to do it. A small 2 to 3 line paragraph of what your career objective is. Now you may ask me that, sir, we are just in the second, third, final year of our program. What do we know about our career objective? The point is not to know exactly what your career objective is. The point is to showcase that you are at least thinking in a certain direction. So you can even say over there, you can even say in the 2 to 3 liner that I'm exploring, careers in marketing, or I'm exploring building careers in finance. I'm exploring building career in engineering domain. Anything that you are exploring or interested to build a career in, you can mention that. That can become your career objective. Once this is over, then you come to your ideally, for someone who had work experience, they would talk about their work experience first. But since at this stage, none of you guys have full time paid work experience after graduation because you guys haven't graduated. Therefore, the first section that you will indicate on your, the next section that you will indicate on your resume is the academic qualification and the achievements linked to it. So first you will write down your 10th, 12th, rather you will write down your UG, then 12th, then 10th in a reverse chronological order. And then below that, you will mention in reverse chronological order the achievements that you have had in academic capacity uh, in your UG, 12th, and 10th in that order. What are these academic achievements? These academic achievements are, for example, you've obtained very well in some test like a JE mains. You've obtained really well in a test like Olympiad. You've done really well in your 10th or 12th board examinations, that you've got some additional honors and recognitions. Maybe you've had some paper publications or research publications to your name. All these are, or maybe you've done really well in an Olympiad. All these things are academic achievements that you will mention below the 10th, 12th, and the undergrad scores. After that point is over, then you will talk about your projects and internships. So I would assume that some of you, if not every one of you, would have gone through some internships as a part of the UG curriculum. And you guys definitely would have done some projects, not a final year project, but even before that, many of you would have done some mini projects at your own individual level or as a part of your curriculum. So you can mention 2 to 3 such projects and 2 to 3 such internships, all in bulleted points. Next, there will be a section. You can interchange this section if you like. You can talk about the positions of responsibility first, or you can talk about your academic and extracurricular achievements. I tend to usually put positions of responsibility first and then academic and extracurricular achievements. So what are the positions of responsibility? Maybe you are the joint secretary of your mechanical engineering department. Maybe you are the sponsorship head of your respective college fest. Maybe you are the technical committee head of a IEEE chapter in your in your campus. It could be anything, right? Here, quality is more important than quantity. I'm not interested to see, or a recruiter is not interested to see multiple positions of responsibility at a lower level and none at a higher level. Versus that, even one position of responsibility at a decently high level, some of them which I mentioned, can be considered to be strong points in this section. You can also talk about your volunteering experience in a subsection. You can say that I volunteered with so and so NGO, or for 2 weeks I was occupied in this social project. Any kind of social work, CSR work, either in a personal capacity or on behalf of the college committee or college authorities that you would have done, you can mention. Should you mention that you went for one day and cleaned the waste of so many garbage of so much garbage on a particular day? Maybe not. Maybe that's not the best uh, you know point to talk about in your volunteering experience. But yes, if you say that, let's say you volunteered at a local shelter for about 2 to 3 weeks, where you were responsible for teaching old age people some new skills related to financial literacy or digital India. Now that is a very impactful and strong volunteering experience. Similarly, in academic and extracurricular achievements, they are interested to know about your any achievements that, I would say, this is not academic, this is co-academic. So any co-academic and co-curricular and extracurricular achievements that you have, you can definitely highlight in that section. That can be anything to do with respect to your hobbies, your interests, your passions, anything that you want to talk about your, for example, you've had some achievements at a state level, at a district level, at a city level, in any sport, in any particular area like dancing, music, etc. So any of these achievements, and these again don't have to be plenty, even one or two good quality extracurricular achievements can really, pinpoint the eye of the recruiter towards that point. Technical skills is another important section and very, very critical in today's day. I would say so critical that a lot of the recruiters are simply using this filter to understand how good of a candidate you are. So they're looking at skills over degrees these days. And while all of you are pursuing the similar kind of degree from the same college, all of your skill sets are different. So you have to indicate what kind of skill sets you possess. And there can be hard skills and soft skills. What are hard skills? Hard skills are those technical skills. Hard skills can include, for example, uh, anything to do with any technical software. Let's say you're a mechanical engineering student and you've done some certification in AutoCAD or in SolidWorks. So you can indicate that, or ANSYS. Let's say you are very particular programming language. Uh, you cannot say that you are a very good prompt engineer, because everybody these days is a prompt engineer. That is, they are very good at writing prompts to an AI model. So prompt engineering for an LLM model is not what they are interested to know. But let's say you know how to build an AI agent, or agentic AI is the skill that you have. Then that is a very critical skill that somebody's eyes will be pointing towards. Now, these are in soft skills, for example, that if you have, for example, an IELTS score, you've taken the IELTS exam and you have a 6.5 band, something like that kind of a score out of 7, then that means you are very good in terms of reading, writing, and publicly speaking English. So you can talk about your communication, your public speaking skills that way. You can also highlight the fact that you are skilled, let's say, in debating, if you've had some good debating experiences or achievements. You can say that you are a very good writer. So creative writing can be a soft skill. Uh, People management can also be a soft skill. Stakeholder management can be a soft skill. Uh, for example, fitness is not a soft skill. Fitness will therefore come under hobbies. So hobbies is the next section, and hobbies is just a simple listing of the areas that you are interested in your life. You don't have to have any achievements in that. You don't have to do anything in that. You can mention what are the hobbies you're interested in. For example, I write that I'm interested in solving Sudoku puzzles. I write that I'm interested in doing gardening. I write that I'm interested in creative writing. I don't have any awards, achievements, any certifications in any of these areas. But these are things I enjoy doing. So you can indicate some of the areas that you enjoy doing in life. What is not required is strengths and weaknesses. That is going to be apparently discussed in an interview conversation. That is not for you to mention in the resume. And these days, people avoid writing references because anyway, people do a background check. So that age-old concept of writing references all the time, that I know I'm giving 1 or 2 or 3 references in my resume. If there is space in the one pager, mention it. If there is lack of space or if it is looking cluttered, no need to mention it in today's day and age. when background verification and reaching out to your referees is very easy. So, like I mentioned, in the personal details, you can talk about your name, your mailing address, LinkedIn profile if you want to, GitHub profile, for example, any kind of online portfolio. Uh, Give a very appropriate email address. Don't use, for example, terabab45@gmail.com. Don't do something like that. Use a simple name. If you want, put your institute email address, your own institute email address. And of course, your gender and marital status, all those things are very optional and not required. Picture is something that depends from case to case. If your institute has no guideline, no specific inhibitions to using your picture, a simple professional passport size picture can be embedded at the top right or top left corner of the resume. It is not 100% required. As I said, career objective is something that people uh, can give a self introduction about themselves where they can mention about their strongest traits, or they can tell the hiring manager what kind of abilities you have that they can hire you for, or you can talk about some of your qualities, that you are this kind of a dedicated team player who can be relied upon to achieve organization's objectives. Don't use ChatGPT for these kind of exercises, because it will be very easy for them to detect uh, whether you have used ChatGPT or not. So, in fact, differentiate yourself among the crowd by not using ChatGPT like tools for this kind of an exercise. The third section I clearly said was academics and achievement, where it is a tabular format. You highlight in a reverse chronological order. The percentages wherever you are writing should be up to two decimal places. For example, 89.20. And then if you have any institute policies with respect to declaration of KTs or any kind of gaps that you've taken in your academic career, mention that as well. Latest first, earliest last. That should be the reverse chronology that you should follow. Under section number 3, I also mentioned academic achievements. It will be there. Any technical papers, Olympiads, any kind of achievements in your 10th, 12th, along with the year of achievement, you need to mention that. So, and in your case, these academic achievements will be either from a 8th standard level to a UG level. It will not fluctuate beyond that. Anything beyond 8th standard, like before 8th standard, is too old for you to even refer over here. In projects and internships, of course, if you're doing your final year project, even if you have not completed it, you can mention it, what you are currently doing in that project. Mention any mini projects, any life projects that you probably had to do as part of your curriculum with any corporate. Mention definitely your internships. I'm sure you would have done one internship after your second year and one internship after your third year. These days, it is quite mandatory for people to do so. I'd focus on the outcome that you achieved or the learning that you had from the internship. So don't just mention that, I took an internship with so and so company and did this. By doing that, what did you achieve as an outcome? Or what was the impact of your project or your internship on the organization? If you can summarize that and mention that in a very crisp and clear manner, that will again distinguish your resume from the rest of the lot. The pro tip from our side is that the final year project is oftentimes discussed in many interviews, whether it is at UG placement interviews, whether it is for interviews for MBA entrance process, so MBA selection process to B schools, whatever be the kind of interview, the final year project for a fresher who has just graduated out of college and is applying to different opportunities is definitely very, very important. So treat your final year project with importance, not from the perspective of grades, but from the perspective of talking about it confidently, so that if anyone wakes you up in the middle of the night also, you should be in a position to talk about what exactly is your final year project, what exactly is the problem statement, what exactly is the research methodology that you have followed, what exactly is the approach that you have followed to solve the problem statement, and what are the results and how you have obtained the results. This kind of a basic structure of your final year project should be crystal clear in your head at the time of doing your project. Maybe the impact or the conclusion or the results of the project may not be out, but the idea should be there that this is the structure in which I should answer my question around the final year project. I mentioned to you that in your extracurricular achievements, do not mention a lot of extracurricular achievements, mention only 4 to 5. Always then write your achievements. You can write in a chronological order. I still choose to write in a reverse chronological order. That's my personal preference. But you can choose to write your achievements starting from 10th standard also. Always mention the year in which the achievement happened. And in your positions of responsibility, which is the alternating section between this and that, between the achievement section and the other section, which is position of responsibility or POR, uh, you just have to write 1 to 2 statements under that position of responsibility as to how many people you managed, what kind of impact you were able to bring to, what was the committee or the department of the fest or the college that you were working for, how many people were working with you or under you, and maybe what kind of impact that the fest had because of your contribution. So usually all these pointers you can even vet from your professor and get there must be a particular professor heading every fest or heading any department committee. So you can get these pointers actually vetted by the professor that, sir, I want to mention my position of responsibility under this committee or under this fest in my resume. Please take a look at these 1 2 sentences and if you think it is appropriate. So they can also guide you. You can mention your technical skills, like I said, any kind of technical skills related to computers, to programming languages, to softwares, language, to operating systems, etc. You can, of course, at the end mention your hobbies. I told you 3 hobbies. Usually, don't list more than 3 or 4 hobbies. Um, do not mention things like I like to eat food, I like to surf the internet, I like to doom scroll on Instagram, or I like to go out with friends and party. That is not what you can talk about. You can talk about your interest in movies, TV series, some kind of genre, sci-fi, maybe sports, esports, anything. And obviously, if the person sitting in front of you who's recruiting you is looking at your resume and is interviewing you with that resume, then be prepared to answer questions basis whatever you've written as part of your hobby. So do not bluff anywhere. Just prepare well to handle the questions on your hobbies, because see, hobbies is something that you should know in and out, right? If you are interested, if anybody asks me what is one of my big hobbies, I would say that football is one of my big hobbies, right? So I would say I can answer anything and everything under the sun when it comes to my favorite club or my favorite team, anything like that. So you should be very confident in terms of being able to answer back questions for especially the hobbies section, because if they ask you a question around your hobbies, you don't know something around that, then it's a very clear reflection of the fact that you were bluffing, which is a very big red flag. Coming to step number 3 of the entire process, uh, formatting rules. Now, all of this content and the structure is what we discussed. Now, how to put it down? So, choose very easy to read fonts, keep things very consistent in a structured manner. Will be very simple. Recommended fonts are the basic ones like Times New Roman, Arial, Georgia, Tahoma, Calibri, etc. The basic ones that we all use in our day-to-day lives. Margins on either side of the document on the 4 sides can be anywhere between 0.5 inches to 1 inch. The font size changes, but the standard font size that is recommended is that 24 font size for the headers, for the name, sorry, your name at the very top, 12 for the body headers. Like, for example, if you want to write work experience, you want to write academic achievements, you want to write position of responsibility, all the sectional names you can write in 12 and you can bolden it if you want. And the content under it should be always under bullet points or single lines, and that can be usually in 10 font size. Line spacing, which is the spacing between every line in the Word document, usually default is set to be at 1.15. You can make it 1 or you can make it 1.5. The more the line spacing, it usually increases readability and gives a better feeling to the recruiter in front of you in terms of consuming your resume. Step number 4 is very crystal clear. Get 2 to 3 people in your life who you trust to read the resume and give very critical solicit feedback on if they feel some important information about your profile is missing. If any irrelevant information has been added, this is not needed, this is not very important, they can tell you. If any formatting or spelling errors or anything like that has happened, they can also, a second viewpoint can always help in identifying that. So after you get the feedback and you incorporate the changes, you can get the final version ready. You can keep a soft copy ready, a hard copy ready after maybe 1 or 2 rounds of iteration of the same. And please save it as a PDF file with a very simple naming convention, your name, the year in which you made the resume, and the word resume. Don't write resume version. Just write, for example, I would write Debrup Poddar resume 2025. As simple as that. So uh, max to max you can write, if I am from IIST Shipur, I'll write Debrup Poddar 2025 IIST Shipur. So very simple name, and save it and keep it with you. And of course, as years go by, as your semesters go by, you will be in a need to update your resume. So you can update the Word file again, and you can again take a PDF, save the PDF again of the same. So here is one of the resume formats. The one on the left hand side is a very professional, academic kind of a profile. The one on the right hand side is what someone would create for making a resume for themselves for job applications, maybe outside college, maybe people who have already had some amount of work experience. So let's talk about the one on the left hand side. The one on the left hand side is obviously of a student from IIT Madras. So they have written the full name at the top, then IIT Madras at the bottom, below it, then their basic address. I will increase the. I don't know if you can see it clearly. Can all of you guys see the image clearly? I hope you can. So yeah, I mean, you have the basic personal details at the top. You have the basic information like GitHub portfolio, LinkedIn portfolio, email address, phone number mentioned at the top. The education is mentioned in a simple table in a reverse chronological order with the CGPAs and with the years. Then the person has chosen to mention projects first instead of academic achievements. So they have mentioned projects first, and they've listed down a couple of projects. So all these projects must have been pretty technical stuff. This is a guy from computer science and engineering. So he only chose to mention very critically technical stuff on his profile so that the person, the professor most likely reading this, will be very impressed with the kind of technical skill set that this person brings to the table. Whereas the resume on the right hand side is more of a business oriented. The person is Jessica Williams over here. She's obviously clearly applying for the role of a marketing manager. She's mentioned her basic personal contact details on the left hand side. Education has been mentioned very briefly on the left hand side in a reverse chronological order. Her expertise, or in this case, the analogous version of skills, has also been mentioned on the left hand side. And finally, at the bottom, she has mentioned 3 interests of hers or hobbies of hers. On the right hand side, she's given a very brief summary paragraph of her profile, something that the guy on the left hand side chose to avoid because he was more interested in highlighting the technical aspects of his profile. This woman on the right hand side wanted to show a brief paragraph about her profile, then wanted to show her work experience, her full time work experience in a reverse chronological order, and she was sure to mention her technical skills at the very bottom. So, all in all, by looking at the right hand side resume, somebody can fully figure out what this person, Jessica Williams, is, what kind of role she's applying for, what kind of experiences she has, where she lives, what education she has done, and what are her technical skills at the moment. This website on the right hand side that I have mentioned is a very interesting website. It's called resume.io. I will encourage all of you to check out this particular website. I'll mention it. I'll show it to you over here. So resume.io is a AI inbuilt resume builder. You have option of either creating your resume from scratch, or you can upload a current version of your resume and it will give you a resume score, and you can use that to map how good or bad your profile or your resume is looking. So these kind of resume builders tools or resume builder websites are a great way for you to vet or verify whether your resume is going ahead or looking in the right direction. So let's say if I click on create my resume, then I have multiple templates to choose out of. So I have standard templates. I have some simple templates mentioned over here, right? I have some 2-column templates mentioned over here, like the Jessica one that we saw earlier, where 2 columns are there, some information on the left hand side segregated by a vertical line, and more information on the right hand side. So you can use this template. Another very nice tool that people use often is Canva. Canva also has a lot of great facilities in terms of, I would say, uh, not only creative elements like static pictures or videos or stuff like that. You can also do a lot of stuff with respect to making your own resume, and making your own resume in a very friendly manner. So it's very, very intuitive and easy to use kind of a tool. So I'm loading it up right now, and over here you can see on Canva, very easy to get started. You can even use some pro features. You can get even daily plans of 69 rupees from Canva. Use it for one day and forget about it. 69 rupees mein you are done. So you can type the word resume over here. It will give you multiple resumes, templates, and options for you to search out of, and and you can choose from existing templates. You can choose from existing layouts. It's a very, very nice, fun, and interesting tool. I'm sure you're aware about Canva in a lot of capacity, but it's a very powerful tool, right? So uh, Canva is another great tool for you to utilize for your resume building. Now that we've discussed a couple of tools for resume building, we'll head back to the presentation, and now we will talk about action verbs. So why action verbs are critical is because we've talked a lot about the structure and the way that the resume should look like. What are some of the resume building tools that you can utilize? But what about the content that you put inside the resume? As I said, the content has to be always structured. The content always has to be in as many single line bulleted points as possible. And you have to use action verbs for it. For example, the word developed, the word executed, conducted, led, received, scored, awarded. So in resume writing, you don't say I developed or I conducted or I executed. You can avoid the I. You can directly start with the action verb in a past tense, and unless and until you're doing something right now. So in that case, it will be present continuous, like developing, launching, conducting, etc. But you use the action verb first, and a strong action verb. For example, elected, spearheaded, benchmarked, guided, motivated, founded, won. These kind of one as in WON, one. These kind of action verbs are the words that you should start your resume pointers with, so that it gives a lot of focus and emphasis and impact on your point. What you should also do, and something that I should have highlighted here, is that whatever numbers are there in the in your respective resume points, you should bold that. You should show it in bold, so that this 25% which has been mentioned here should actually have been in bold, or this 15% should have been in bold. This 900 should have been in bold. This 300 out of 300 should have been in bold. That way, somebody's eyes will also go towards that quantifiable achievement that you have written down. In fact, the framework that you should follow at the time of making your resume pointers is something called as the CAR framework, the CAR framework. What does the CAR framework mean? It's a simple framework that says C stands for context, A stands for action, and R stands for result. So the CAR framework gives context, action, and results, and helps you develop a pointer. Look at the one of the pointers over here. Let's see. Yes. This point about headed the compliance department. So this pointer, if you take a look at, it's completely based on the CAR framework, where the context is that the person was working in the compliance department of the annual inter-college festival. That is the context in which the person is writing. That person headed that particular department. What did the person do? He managed a footfall of 50,000 students over 5 days, and that itself was a result of what he did. He managed a great footfall. So in one way or the other, you have to indicate what kind of a context, action, and result you were able to generate. For example, if you have taken, let's say, you're writing a point about a social work or a volunteering that you have done. So you can say that I spearheaded the distribution of used clothes to uh, old age occupants of so and so old age home over 3 weeks in order to help them deal with the winter times. So what I did, I spearheaded. I spearheaded a distribution of what context? In the context of the people living in the old age home. So my context and my action is clear. I distributed clothes as my action. The context is the old age home and its occupants. And the result is that they were able to deal better in terms of the upcoming winter conditions. Let's take a business example. Let's say you work in the future in a particular organization, and you are able to generate some sales for the organization. So you will say that in financial year 24-25, I headed the sales department of so and so, generating 2x the revenue, leading to this much percentage growth in organic sales. This is the clear way in which you will talk about your CAR framework. So what was the context? The context is that I'm handling the sales department of the particular company. My action is that I manage the sales. I was overlooking the sales. I was looking after the salespeople. Maybe I was looking after a team of 15, 20 salespeople. So that is my action, my supervision. And what was the result? That I was able to bring in 2x the revenue at so and so growth rate for the organic business. So context, action, and results was very clear in that particular statement. So this context, action, result framework is very, very critical when it comes to your action verbs, or when it comes to framing your resume pointers with the help of action verbs in the beginning. Also, let's understand what is an ATS score. Now, ATS is a mechanism by which recruiters or companies use this ATS score to evaluate the candidature of many applicants who apply to them in an automated manner. So they use or they employ ATS softwares. There are companies that build ATS tracking tools that evaluate the score or the ATS score of a particular candidate's resume. And that candidate gets a certain ATS score, let's say 92, which is very good. And basis that ATS score itself, the further shortlisting happens. Not every company does that. Even if they do, they don't always reveal it. But an ATS optimized score of the resume, or an ATS optimized resume, is very, very critical. And there are, including the resume.io, there are other freely available websites on the internet onto which you can get the ATS score of your resume. In fact, I think you can also use AI models and give them a prompt that rate my resume, and give it an ATS score basis the following factors. What are the factors? Rate it on basis of content quality, rate it on the basis of content clarity, rate it on the basis of how well formatted my resume is, rate it on the basis of keywords, and rate it on the basis of how the structure of my resume is looking. And one more thing that I have not mentioned here, but you should give it as a prompt, is that you should always also mention for which job description or for which role opening have you even applied to. So if the LLM software, the Chat GPT or the Google Gemini, knows that you applied to, let's say, a marketing role, and your resume is built for an HR role, then it will be not ATS optimized for that particular job opening. So the context of the job opening or the application is also important. And of course, these parameters listed here from a resume point of view alone is also very important. Very quickly talking about cover letters. Now, what is a cover letter? A cover letter is a covering letter that you submit alongside your main resume. So in the olden days, what people would do is that they would attach a covering letter alongside a copy of their resume and send it via post to the respective employer. These days, there are emails for that. So you write the email, which itself becomes the covering letter. And underneath that, you send an attachment of your resume. So whenever you mail your resume, either in electronic format via email or whether you post it, you need to mention a covering letter. It is not the same as your resume. It is not a paraphrasing of your resume. It is an opportunity to highlight your personality, to showcase your typing skills, your English skills, your soft skills. You have to keep the covering letter extremely brief, and make sure that if you are not writing a covering letter, oftentimes the recruiters perceive it as a sense of laziness or the fact that you're not following the correct format. So you can send that either in an email format or you can send it via post, whatever the employer has mentioned in their criteria. So a sample covering letter has been given here for your reference. Let's take a look. So it's a very short and sweet sample covering letter where you're addressing the respective sir or ma'am, you're mentioning your name, you're introducing yourself, and you usually mention it in a way that, this is a letter that I'm writing or this is an email that I'm writing with respect to the application for the position of a certain role that was opened up in your website or was opened up in your LinkedIn, something that you're giving a reference to. And you say that after you reviewed the job description of that particular role opening, you believe that you have the right skills and capabilities to fill the role. You are currently so-and-so student with a so-and-so GPA, studying in so-and-so department in so-and-so college. Throughout my academic career, I've always been brilliant, is what you highlight. You also mentioned that you're briefly working on so-and-so projects, which are testing your so-and-so skills. And I hope to leverage these skills in the kind of job that I'm applying to. Please attach below my resume for your reference. After reviewing it, I hope you will agree that I am the right fit for this particular role. I look forward on elaborating more, possibly in an interview conversation, in how I can be a positive asset for your organization and help it further achieve its business goals. Please contact me on so-and-so phone or so-and-so email to arrange for a convenient meeting opportunity. That's a very short and simple way of basically writing a small message to the person that, hey, this is me, this is what I bring to the table. I'm attaching my resume for your reference. Please go through it. And if you feel that I'm the right fit or worthy of the role, then we can connect. So that's just a introductory or a prologue kind of information that you are giving to the recruiter. Let's understand how a good profile helps you. Now that we have understood about resume is nothing but a reflection of your profile, and therefore you need to have a good profile, and maintaining a good profile is therefore very critical. So before any kind of a profile building activity that you have done, you may look like a weak candidate, you may have unclear direction, you may have even be low on confidence. And after you've done some profile building activities, you feel confident, you have clarity of goals of what you want to do, which area you want to build your career in, and you definitely have a strengthened profile. And what does a strengthened profile do for you? It definitely helps you in getting different call opportunities. For example, it helps you get a interview call opportunity from a particular B school or an MBA college. It can also help you justify what kind of gaps you have had in your work experience and what profile building activities you were doing in that gap, and definitely increases your chances of securing good placements, either at a UG level or during the MBA program, whatever it is. I told you, a good profile is agnostic of MBA alone. It is not only from the perspective of MBA. But from the perspective of MBA specifically, if you are interested, then there are multiple aspects of your profile which are very, very critical when it comes to getting an opportunity to be selected for a final selection into the IIMs and the top Indian B schools. What is a B school? It's an MBA college. What is an IIM? It is the Indian Institute of Management. There are 21 IIMs in the country. These are the premier management education, business education institutions in the country. And they look at not just how well you have done in one test, they also look at elements of your profile in two stages. Stage one is when they look at your profile and basis your written test, which is usually the CAT, the Common Admission Test, they call you for an interview opportunity. Once you are called for the interview opportunity, then you take the personal interview in front of them, and how well you do in your personal interview round obviously depends on how good your profile is, what they like about your profile, what kind of questions they ask, and how you respond to it. And then finally, in stage two, after taking the personal interview round, nearly 50% of your chances depend on the interview round. And finally, this is your overall 50% of personal interview and 50% of your profile, you are given a final admission offer. This is therefore very important to understand, and therefore we need to keep doing profile building activities no matter what it is. We can be interested in CAT and MBA, we can not be interested in CAT and MBA, and we can only be interested in UG placements. Irrespective of that, profile building activities are critical. You need to have, I would say, a good blend of an academic profile, a good blend of a professional profile, and a good blend of a extracurricular profile. So in the first bucket, which is the academic profile, you need to maintain decent amount of UG grades. Your CGPA needs to be decent. Anything above a 7 to 7.5, anything above that is considered to be is considered to be good. Anything above an 8 and 8.5 is great. Anything above a 9 is fantastic. Uh, Competitions and scholarships, you can continue taking part in different academic competitions. You can win or earn some scholarships to your name, which really add value to your academic profile. You can keep doing academic certifications, and of course take part in research papers and research work, and publish some papers, publish some articles also. That also gives credibility to your academic profile. Definitely, from a professional standpoint, you need to show positions of responsibility, like we mentioned before. You also need to take part in internships and keep upskilling yourself. You need to keep learning in today's world. You have to keep upskilling yourself, learning new tech, learning new skills. And also, one thing that many UG candidates miss out on is networking and building a personal brand. I don't know how many of you are active on LinkedIn. I don't even know how many of you are even present on LinkedIn. But I myself started very late on a professional platform like LinkedIn, and I regret it because you need to start with networking activities in a personal capacity, in a professional capacity, as well as personal branding on those professional sites is something very, very critical. You also need to have a good a good extracurricular profile. If not a good one, there are at least some striking elements about it. Maybe you are very deeply interested and consistent with a hobby for the last 15, 16 years. Maybe you are very good or have had some achievements at a state level, district level in some extracurriculars. You obviously can keep doing volunteering activities, not for the sake of it, but for the genuine interest of it. And these days, a lot of people are doing passion projects. They are doing side hustles. They're building ventures. They are running their part time businesses. They're creating content on social media. They're managing other people's portfolio of money. They are doing some professional qualifications like CFA. All these passion projects, passion certifications, side hustles that people are doing are also part of what makes your profile versatile. So these three elements, keep doing them to keep building your profile. These constitute the profile building activities, regardless of what your career aspirations are. MBA, not MBA, doesn't matter.